What's going on, everybody? It's Peter here. I'm out in the garage working on a little tackle, getting some stuff organized, and I've been doing really well, catching a lot of fish cranking these past few weeks as the water's cooled down. I just figured it'd be good to throw out a little video out there for you all, just sharing a few of my favorite crankbait styles for when that water gets chilly, through the late fall into all the way through March, really. I stick with some similar crankbait styles, so I just wanted to share those with you. The first one I'm going to go through is probably one that you're already quite familiar with, and that's that sort of mid-range flat side crankbait. A lot of times, at least in the lakes that I've been fishing, you find a lot of fish on rock in kind of that 4 to 8 foot range, and I like to keep a little selection of flat side crankbaits around, just for that purpose, for covering that range. And the point of a flat side crankbait, really, this is the Cliff Pace. I can't remember who actually makes the bait, but Cliff Pace has his name on this one. This is Ott Defoe's, a little bit rounder to it, but still it's got those flat sides. And balsa, that's that Rapala one, that 6 foot diver. And this is the Bagley, I want to say it's the B2, but it's another flat side crankbait. And these are all really good kind of mid-range depth running, tight shimmying, tight wobbling crankbait. And I'm sure you've seen a million articles and videos about how productive flat-sided crankbaits can be in the wintertime, but I just figured I'd show you a couple of those. This one I've been pretty good fan of. I wasn't totally sold on the action first time I threw it. I had one in a more natural shad pattern, just like a basic silver, and I threw it around a good bit, and I only caught one fish on it, but it was a 5.37 pound largemouth, so I was happy with that. And when I saw this nice purple kind of sexy shad color, I thought I'd pick it up, give it a try. But in the wintertime, it's good to have some bright colors around, get some pop, get some reaction out of these what could be lethargic fish. There's something to be said for that good reaction strike, and those bright colors certainly don't hurt. The next style, moving away from that tight wobbling, shimmying, flat side crankbait, to sort of a total opposite, but can be equally deadly in the cold water, is the wigglewort, the classic wigglewort. Again, I keep a little selection of colors around, but I usually end up sticking with probably either a natural shad or this chartreuse kind of shad over here, or rather craw over there. I think in the clear water situation, that silver works really well, and then if that water gets a little dirtier, I can switch it up, get a little more flash. Something I just noticed as I was getting these crankbaits out, which I thought was kind of funny, is they throw the orange, I guess that would be like emulating the tips of pinchers of a crayfish, but they throw it on the front of the bait. And so as the bait's diving forward, the pinchers, that would mean the pinchers of the crayfish are going forward, which would be the opposite of how the fish actually moves in the water, or the crayfish actually moves in the water, which I thought was kind of funny. I just noticed that. But yeah, these Storm wiggleworts are a classic staple. They run, depending on what kind of line you're using, you can get them down to around anywhere from 6 to 10 feet-ish. Somewhere in that middle of that range usually is more accurate, in that 7 to 8 foot kind of range. But yeah, usually I throw them on 10-pound line, try to make a long cast. They come through cover really well, especially rock and wood. So you can kind of bang them around and get them where the fish live without worrying about hanging them up too much. But they've got this just awesome wobble to them. You can see they've got this kind of round profile to them, so they wobble like crazy through the water. And what's interesting, just a regular BB kind of knock to them. Nothing too special, but man, there's something about them when that water gets into the 50s, mid-50s and below, that really catches them. I don't tend to throw them really into the 40s too much. I tend to go back to the flat sides when it gets really cold, but that's a really nice option for spring and fall cranking. The other one I keep a ton of in the box in a variety of colors is this Strike King, the 1.5 deep, I think that's what it's called. It's the flat side, 1.5 flat side, and it runs, advertised they say 8 to 10 feet. I tend to find it runs really true to about 8 foot, and it doesn't cast super well because it's a light bait, and it's again flat sided, so it doesn't sling super well like into the wind and stuff. But I throw it on 10-pound line, and I can get down about 8 feet usually, and I find it comes through cover pretty well. But this thing just gets bit. I mean, if you haven't tried one of these and you do a little bit of cranking, I would get your hands on a couple, just test them out and see what you think. I think you'll really enjoy fishing with them. They've got a really nice tight shimmy, nice small profile, really good shad profile. And yeah, they just flat out catch fish. I've had some epic days fishing in the fall, this time of year, November, when that water's in the low 50s and even down into the high 40s, catching fish on that bait really well. Just an awesome option. for fall cranking. It really works all year round, but I really break it out in the month of November. It just seems to just really make fish mad. I keep a variety of colors around. These more natural, kind of the natural bluegill, natural shad patterns. Those will be reserved for clear water conditions, and then obviously I've got the big bright pop for when I run into some mud, which down here happens more often than maybe I'd like. But that chartreuse one there has been a workhorse for me, and then I keep this shad one around too. Those two have been really good. The one I was really catching them on this past weekend was the green gizzard. Caught a lot of fish on that this weekend. So really good crankbaits. If you haven't tried them, give them a go as this water cools, and I think you'll really be pleased with how they produce. The last one, again, kind of like the wigglewort, the last category I want to talk about is one of those classic cold water cranking options, which is the good old Rapala shad wrap. And as you can see, I keep a few different sizes on me. The little baby guys, do not sleep on these. These are killers. This one runs, I'd say, about 5 feet deep. Again, you don't want to throw this on anything like heavier than maybe like 6-pound line. I tend to use it on a spinning rod with braid, and then a 6-pound fluoro leader. And same thing with that little, yeah, definitely, especially you pond guys, don't sleep on the little shallow runner, that little bent lip. This thing just, I mean, hammers fish year round, but I've caught them in the freezing cold on that lure. Both these ones here were like my wintertime pond staple fishing as a kid. I think my first bass, like every year, came on that shallow running version when that water was like, you know, there was still ice on the pond. The water was still in the 30s, and fish would hammer that. I've messed around with some suspended strips on some of them to try and get them to suspend like a jerkbait, but and that can work really well too. But straight out of the package, those two things slay right there. And then I keep the other sizes around. Again, I throw them on a spinning rod for the most part. You can get away with, I think this is a size 8, this big perch one at the bottom, but you can get away with that one on a bait caster. But the rest of them, throw them on a spinning rod, 6-pound leader, and these work especially really well in the lake where you've got multiple species. I'd say like up north, it seems to be like some of the smallmouth lakes, smallmouth get on these really well, especially that white chartreuse has been a good producer for me. That one's just been killer as well. But if you have a lake with spots or smallmouth in them, I've caught them on Kiwi in the south. Caught a few fish on Lake Lanier with them. Just anytime you've got a variety of species of bass in the body of water, and you've got water down into the 40s and even the high 30s, break out a shad wrap, that tight shimmy, use nice light line, spinning rod, make those long casts, 45-degree angle banks, that good stuff. And you'll find fish, you'll catch fish on them. They work great, and definitely something to keep in the arsenal. One of those classics that still produces, and I think people kind of forget about. So yeah, that's basically a good little rundown of a few of my categories of fall, winter, and early spring crankbaits I like to keep around. And if I had to rank them in terms of like how cold I go, this would probably be the first. Wigglewort, that'd probably be, I'd say, anywhere between when the water dips below 60 and then down to about 50 or 48. Maybe that's when the wigglewort tends to do well. This one, the Strike King, I'd say probably about a similar range. I haven't really done terribly well on it when the water gets down below like 48 or 46. Past that, then I move over to those really tight wobblers, these guys, and like the ones that really have a shimmy and no rattle in them. And then when it's super cold, like if you've got a slick of ice on parts of the place, pull out that shad wrap and just creep it along with some pauses, fish around some cover, and I guarantee you will be able to find the biters in the lake. So yeah, just a quick overview of my cold water cranking stuff. Please let me know if you have any questions or anything in the comments. Happy to give more detail or insight. And yeah, tight lines out there, everybody. Enjoy fishing. They don't quit biting when it's cold.